Hello everyone and welcome to another wild game from yesterday's Title Tuesday. It is Magnus Carlsen versus the next Alireza, 15-year-old Grandmaster Sina, Movahed, and both of them are still undefeated in the tournament. It's a great game. I know I left this quote over the board on the previous video, but Magnus was actually referring to this one. So yeah, let's check it out. It's quite an amazing game. Magnus with white opens with pawn to d4. Sorry about that. We have knight to f6 by Sina, pawn to c4 and pawn to g6. We have knight to c3 and bishop to g7. So the standard King's Indian. We have pawn to e4, pawn to d6, knight f3 and castles king side. We have bishop to e2 and pawn to e5. Again, all been played before. This is the main line. Castles, knight to c6. We have pawn to d5 and knight to e7. And Magnus strikes with pawn to b4. The minority attack is a pretty standard idea. Against the King's Indian, we have knight to h5, preparing pawn to f5, and rook to e1. And usually pawn to f5 is played here. Knight to f4, the move that was played in this game, is the second most popular option. We have bishop to f1, and now pawn to f5. So you've achieved everything you want from a King's Indian, and usually the knight is just captured. You capture the knight, for example, captures, and then you move this rook as it's on a pretty awkward square. But Magnus says no need for that. I'm just going to play pawn to a4. As long as I don't capture the knight, my rook can remain on a1. And this is already fairly rare territory. We have pawn to h6, rook to a3. Now with some ideas of maybe lifting the knights and getting the rook into the attack long term. Pawn to g5, and now there actually is a game in the database. Bishop captures on f4 is a known move, but here we have pawn to g3 by Magnus, and it is now as of move 14 that we have a completely new game. And you would probably expect something like the retreat of the knight, but no. F captures on e4, where Magnus can choose. He could just play knight captures on e4, and then the knight goes back and the game continues. But Magnus says, all right, I can play cool moves as well. Knight captures on g5. Okay, h captures. We have f captures, g captures on f4, and now g captures on f4. You could also throw in a pawn to e3, as that pawn will be lost either way. But okay, g captures on f4, knight captures on e4, and now knight to g6, with the idea of coming all the way to h4. Knight to f5 is also a great square for the knight, coming to d4. But okay, Sina goes to g6, and now we have queen to h5. Magnus attacks the knight on g6, and your last chance of holding this is bishop to f5, or rather your last chance of holding this if white plays the best moves is bishop to f5. If white doesn't play the best moves, then obviously not. Knight to h4, and the question is, what do you play here? Obviously, it's the position from the thumbnail, so I'm not going to ask you guys. Magnus played rook to h3, which is definitely not the first move you think of, as it's covered by the bishop. So probably bishop to h3 is the first move you think of, and black is under no means obligated to capture on h3, so you're not going to get your rook to h3. By playing rook to h3 right away, Magnus is showing that he now has a threat of just winning a piece, and it's not that easy to parry this. If you go, for example, knight to f5, then queen h7 check. Again, the knight will be attacked. For example, rook h5, you go after the knight, and now you just have to give it up. There's nothing better than rook h8. You give up the rook for knight and bishop, and that's it. Because if you try to save the knight, then look at this. Knight g5 check, king f6, rook to h6 check, bishop captures, and knight to e4 is a beautiful, beautiful checkmate. So after rook to h3, okay, Sina plays bishop captures on h3. We have bishop captures, now eyeing that e6 square, which would be deadly, and rook to f6. You have to give the f8 square to the black king, otherwise you're just lost. Bishop to e6 check. Of course, Sina was hoping for knight captures on f6, but Magnus will not make it easy. King to f8, and now the question is how to continue. There's only one good way that ensures a victory for Magnus. What would you play here? It's a very, very sharp position. Of course, king to h1. You have to free up the g file for the rook. This is what Magnus played. We have rook to g6, now getting the rook off of harm's way, well, waiting for that rook g1. And now Magnus played it, which is not the way to go. The way to go here is actually queen h7. And now look at this weird position. The knight cannot move as it's defending the rook. The queen cannot move as it's defending the knight. And you're threatening queen g8 check followed by queen to f7 checkmate. There's nothing black can do to avoid this other than give up a lot of material and then still just lose the game. So queen h7 would have ended the game on the spot. But okay, Magnus went for rook to g1. You also have to play fast. This is 5+0, so if you can make your opponent go below 1 minute, chances are, if he doesn't checkmate you, he's not winning the game. Rook captures on g1 with check, king captures, and now queen to e8, offering a queen trade. But also, the trick is that now if queen captures on h4, then you have queen to g6 check, picking up the knight on e4. And Magnus doesn't calculate this well. He plays queen captures on h4, and now queen to g6 with check. And Magnus just goes back. We have king to f1. Now, you're probably thinking, no, the correct move is king to h1. No, it's not. That's even worse. The correct move is knight to g3. Believe it or not, because now after f captures and h captures, let's say queen b1, going after the bishop, white is completely winning. Queen h5, and you cannot avoid checkmate. Even if you capture this bishop with check, king to g2, no more useful checks. Next move, you deliver checkmate, and that's it. In the game after queen to g6 check, Magnus played king to f1, thinking that is the exact same thing, queen captures, queen h5, and it's game over, but it's not. Queen captures on e4, we have queen to h5 threatening checkmate, and now is the question, how do you play this? It's still, you can still save the game, but you cannot play queen to h1 check, which is such a natural move to play and, capture the bishop. Of course not. You can't capture the bishop. There's a mate hanging on f7. You have to play queen captures on c4. That's the key idea. And now if you go to e1 or g1, you pick up the bishop with check. But after king to g2, you go queen e4. And now you either go back and then the black queen continues checking you, or you actually try to go up the board. Let's say queen e2 check, king h3, queen to f1 check, king to g4, queen to g2 check, king f5. Now you have queen to c2 check. And now the king has to go back. The bishop controls the dark squares, or rather the only important dark square, which is f6. And you have to go back. King to g4, and so on and so on. Queen back to g2, and now it would be a repetition. But Sina missed it. He played queen to h1 with check. Now Magnus played king to e2. And it's very similar, but with a very important twist. Queen to e4 with check. We have king to d2, queen to d4 check, king to e1, and now queen to e4 check. And now Magnus blocks with bishop to e3, and you're not in time to capture, because captures queen to f7 is checkmate. So queen to b1 check, we have king to e2, queen to c2 check, king to f1, and now queen captures on c4 with check, king to g1, and he was in this position on move 34 that 15-year-old Iranian Grandmaster Sina Movahed resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. You can give one more check, or some weird ones which we are not going to mention. This is also not possible. So basically you have no checks, and next move you just get checkmated. You cannot even prolong it. So yeah, really tough loss for Sina. He was very close to salvaging a draw, but he missed that one check, and then Magnus just won another game. And for those of you who were complaining that I didn't show the standings in the previous video, Magnus won the entire thing, drawing only one game to second place young Krzysztof Duda. And it wasn't that it was close or that Duda could have won. Magnus was winning that game, but in the end Duda managed to get a draw, and Duda is the only one who took half a point of Magnus. Otherwise it would be a perfect 11 out of 11. So yeah, Magnus stole first place, 10 points. Duda, 10 points. Andrew Tang, Vincent Keimer, Alexis Arana with 9 points. Murad Ibrahimil, Kagan Ahmad, Hikaru Nakamura also. Someone mentioned that this is already like second or third title Tuesday where he's not doing all that great, but it is to be expected. He is playing some lower level opposition these days. We have Maxim Tsaruk, Rinat Yumabayev, Renato Terry also doing incredibly well for an international master. No doubt we will be seeing him as a grandmaster soon. Alexander Grishuk, Sina Movahed, Dmitry Andrekin, Stanislav Bukharev, David Paravian, and Narayan Anlina, and so on and so on. But yeah, Magnus takes control of another event, and he will be looking for achieving a hat trick in the next title Tuesday, I imagine. And I always wonder why they call it a hat trick. I'm not going to tell you because I had to Google it, and it's it's not it's not what I thought. It's something completely different. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you can check it out yourselves. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by Magnus as usual. I would like to thank John Very, the Duncan Winecall, Ramesh Sadi, Sanjeev Sharma, and Creators Workshop for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions such as this one and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you still haven't, download Load of Chess. First link in the description below, and start increasing your mastery and improving your chess. Every day is crucial. See you soon.